welcome to another video from the Pilgrim Sam Cooper. This is my review I'm going to do the first 3 episodes of the 15th Doctor's era of Doctor Who. Let's just call it that. We're going to do Church on Ruby Road, Space Babies, and the Devil's Chord. All in one go, just to make sure we're lined up to date, everything's good, and then hopefully I'll be able to get an episode out one at a time. I just want to make sure I'm caught up at least with Ncuti's era, and then maybe I'll go back and do the 60s specials after they've had some time to be forgotten a little bit, and then I'll do a fresh review. I thought about trying to do everything in chronological order, but this is a fresh channel, so I have to figure out a way to really do this, but that's neither here nor there. So, The Church on Ruby Road. I've seen it twice. I watched it once when it first came out, and then once with my wife, who is not a Whovian. She married into the Whovian life, and so we watched it on May 7th. No, May 3rd. We watched it on either May 3rd or May 4th, a week before the newer episodes were supposed to drop, because she didn't watch it with me on Christmas. So I have that twice under my belt, and I thought it was a great introduction to Ncuti. I thought it was really, really good as far as answering the question of who this Doctor is, apart from the giggle, which was in and of itself was a good introduction. Those first few moments he got after the bi-generation were really good. He has a lot of energy, a lot of charisma, that I feel like is the same but different. He is definitely his own Doctor without hesitation. He is his own Doctor, but he's still very much the Doctor. I think, and he reminds me, I'm a big fan of Paul McGann and the Big Finish audios, and I get that vibe, that sense of wonder, that sense of adventure, that I just want to go out and experience things and explore things and learn the language of rope to get into the episode. That just seems, I'm learning the language of rope. That just seems like such an essential Doctor Who component. Like, he's discovering new things, and I think Russell is really giving us something fresh so that we have that adventurous exploration in the Doctor. We don't have this, well, I'm the Doctor, and I know everything about this universe, and you're the companion, and you know absolutely nothing. They're both having to learn. Ruby is learning about the Doctor, Doctor is learning about Ruby, and they're both learning about everything that they come across in these episodes. I like the Goblin song. I don't know how I feel about musical numbers in Doctor Who at this point. We'll get to the Devil's Chord in a minute and really flesh that out. The Goblin song is catchy. It's random, but it's catchy. I think it kind of spoils it to have it released. What was it, weeks or a month before the show came out? But other than that, it's okay. I like that Millie and Ncuti got to sing pretty much a cappella, not a cappella, but live during the recording. That's kind of cool. It was just kind of random. I don't I'm curious about all these mythical elements. What are they going to get into with all these mythical elements now that the floodgates are open with some of these mythical creatures that normally Doctor Who would do them, but then they would give a sci-fi explanation of why this happens, and that doesn't seem to be the case here. The Toymaker is not something you can explain away with some technobabble and sci-fi, and neither are the things that have come through since he came to Earth, and now his legions are coming. So I'm curious, where can we go with these? What stories can we tell? Of course, we've had supernatural elements in Doctor Who before. We've had the demons of Pertwee's era. We've had, the Satan Pit, and there's probably more. I haven't watched all of Classic Who, so we had Sutek, and it was at the Pyramids of Mars, which I haven't seen, but I know that Sutek is there. A lot of people pointed out the kind of homage to that with them going, in the Devil's Chord, with them going to the future at the point in time where they were. So they've made references to that. So we've had supernatural beings and supernatural elements before. We've had Santa Claus. I can't remember in the Capaldi episode with Santa Claus if was he a dream, like a figment in Clara and the Doctor's dreams. I don't remember. I'd have to go rewatch that episode. Man, it's been years since I've gone through. It feels like the Capaldi era was yesterday, but then when I tried to remember individual scenes and individual episodes, I'm like, I gotta rewatch Doctor Who. Yeah, I'm really intrigued. I'm a big fan of both sci-fi and fantasy. Big Lord of the Rings fan, big Narnia fan. And just fantasy in general. I'm a big fan of. If you follow me on my gaming channel, I'm a big fan of Skyrim and Oblivion and Morrowind. So I want to see some of the high fantasy elements in a way that we haven't seen them in Doctor Who. Because again, we had Robin Hood and Robots of Sherwood. So we've had fantasy elements, but it seems like there's going to be less of a sci-fi explanation, and they're just going to be something that the Doctor and Ruby have to deal with, along with this new pantheon. But going back to the Church on Ruby Road, I think this is a great setup for the Gatwa era, the RTD2 and the Gatwa era, because you basically, he's just the Doctor. He's here. He's meeting Ruby. You're meeting him for the first time, and I can definitely see why Disney Plus decided to put The Church on Ruby Road as episode 1 of season 1 here, because Space Babies is a whole another animal. I and we can get into that now, but let me just kind of finish my thoughts on the Church on Ruby Road. Is there anything else I can think of that is worth mentioning? I just think it's a beautiful setup. We meet Ruby's family. I love Carla and Cherry. I think they're I love that there's a grandmother. I don't know, that just adds extra potential to it as well. I don't think we got Sylvia for Donna, and we didn't get really a lot of Martha's family anyway. But we got Sylvia for Donna. I don't think Rose had a grandmother, but I mean, so I'm liking that dynamic, and I want to see more of it. We haven't seen them, but only briefly in the next 2 episodes. So I want some. We need a Earth story soon. I don't think we're gonna get it anytime soon. Maybe until later on in the series. Dot and Bubble. I'm pretty sure the Legend of Ruby Sunday is gonna have a lot to do with her family. I would assume, but there's only so many episodes we have here, so there's only so much you can do. But anyway, I think it's a great introduction. I think there's a lot of emotion, a lot of and there's timey-wimey elements where Ruby just disappears because the goblins go back in time, but they're not time travelers. Kind of prove the Doctor wrong there. But anyway, and I think it's good. I want to know who that hooded woman is. I have my thoughts. I'll probably get into a theory discussion once I've discussed all the episodes. But I want to know who Ruby is, and I want to know who the hooded woman is. Is it really her mother, or is it some rogue figure like the lady with the eye patch? I forget her name in the season with Amy and her being pregnant. Because it could be anybody really. So I'm really curious. So go after that. If you jump off from there, that's where I would tell my friends to start with. Start with, as long as Disney keeps it organized that way, the Church on Ruby Road, which you should start there anyway. If you're gonna start with a Doctor in a season, you're gonna start with the first episode of that Doctor. When I was watching it with my wife, we watched. We were gonna. I was like, okay, the 60th anniversary. I want you to start watching this with me, but I knew like that was gonna be a weird jumping on point because she's gonna have no context for Donna and everything going on there. So we watched season 4, and that's all we watched. That's all I could get her to watch. We watched season 4, so she'd have that context. Then we watched the 60th anniversary when it came out, and then now we're starting off with the Church on Ruby Road and going onward. She has enough context to be like, okay, and the show is feeding enough for new viewers, for the new Disney viewers, or even maybe even new BBC viewers, for there to be like, you know, this gradual going on point. It feels very much like Series 1 2005, the way they're doing it a lot faster, but they're doing it very well, I think. I've heard a lot of hardcore fans be like, we already know this stuff, it kind of takes away from it, but I just like Doctor Who, you need a refresher at times. So me, I don't have a problem with it. Like, you need that reminder. I like the reminder that the show understands its history and where it's coming from, and it's not disconnecting from that. And again, I'm getting ahead of myself. So we get the Space Babies. They do have a little bit of exposition on how things work, who the Doctor is. I think that's where, he says, I'm the last of my kind, I'm over 1,000 years old, and explaining all this to Ruby. And then I do like the little opener with the butterfly effect. I was wondering with that in the trailer how that was going to work, and it's just a quick little thing. And then I forgot to flip the butterfly effect switch. Like, I don't know if that's like just him saying, oops, let me do this, or if, like, he's like thinking, oh gosh, I gotta be careful, and he just wanted to flip a button to make himself feel better. I don't, is that a thing? Is that, the way they, or is that just like to get the story moving along without that having longer repercussions? He just flips the switch, and now they don't have to worry about the butterfly switch or the butterfly effect anymore, and that's kind of been happening canon wise, but we've never seen it until now because we needed to explain this gag. I don't really know how this works because leading up to this, the thought was, butterfly effect isn't really a thing for Doctor Who, but with the Toymaker and the Myth and the Salt, like, is that now going to be more of a thing? But we've kind of seen that be a thing throughout these 3 episodes, so I'm sure we'll get more of an elaboration on that as we go. But then, okay, Space Babies. Let me think. I mean, it's not a episode 1 for me. I think it was smart for Disney Plus to reorganize it to where the Church on Ruby Road was episode 1, because Space Babies is worse than Mannequins. Okay, like, when I first started watching Doctor Who, and I was just a rabid fan, and I wanted all my friends to watch it back when it was on Netflix in the U.S. You guys remember that? You guys remember when it was on Netflix in the U.S.? Crazy times. And I wanted my friends to watch it. They watched that first episode with Christopher Eccleston and be like, what is this show? The mannequins come into life. Space Babies, I feel like, would be worse with the literal boogeyman, boogerman, bogeyman. It's not a bad episode of Doctor Who, but it's not a good first episode of Doctor Who. It's not a good jumping on point, I don't think, because it's so chaotic. It very nicely fits as the second episode, though. I think it's clever. I think it's very unusual in a very Doctor Who way. And I do, while I think it's a bit of a stretch for the Doctor to have this emotional, sympathetic connection with this boogeyman that is the only one of his kind, because he's a literal monster. I get it. I get what they're trying to set up. The Doctor is the only one of its kind. He doesn't want him to hurt. And then the babies kind of flip the switch too and say, we don't want him to be hurt. And then they close the airlock, and there you go. Okay. you know, it's fine. It's fun. It's a good episode too. It's good filler. It's good little romp. You know, if this was episode one and we didn't have the church on Ruby Road, I would be very concerned. And then, again, smart on them for releasing 2 episodes in one night. The Devil's Chord. The Devil's Chord, while it's not perfect, is a very good episode of Doctor Who. Is, I think, all three together make for perfect little, like, you want to get into Doctor Who, you want to start fresh. You want to not have to really worry about the last 60 years, but still have things explained to you and really be able to get in the show. All three of these episodes, culminating in the Devil's Chord, I think, beautifully well done altogether. The Devil's Chord, Jinx Monsoon nailed it as a villain, very camp, very dramatic, and I like it. I hope that the rest of the Pantheon, whenever we see them, has as much gravitas. Like I didn't really see Jinx as or the Maestro as a threat per se, but I saw them as a good foil for the Doctor, a little bit above his level, not as menacing as the Toymaker, but definitely could be the Toymaker's child. Like I could feel that, and the Doctor's reaction was beautiful. Like the Doctor not knowing, being out of their element, being out of their depth. This isn't the I'm learning a new science. This is, oh my goodness, this is a god. What do I do? I like that. We haven't had that in a while. The Doctor has been the threat to be reckoned with for the villains for so long. It's nice to have villains that he is concerned about and doesn't know how to handle. It is really nice, and it's something new and something different, but also connected to everything else. And I think that is great. But I am disappointed with 2 things. The Beatles are inconsequential to this episode. Like, yes, they end up kind of saving the day unknowingly. Like, they don't know they're doing it, I don't think. But other than that, they're just there to make the plot have a theme and need to go back to the 60s and dress up and all that. I don't really understand, like, why that was absolutely necessary. To do that, you could have used any musician, and then, they build this as a musical, and I'm sorry, it was not a musical. It had music in it, it was about music, and it had a musical number. That's it. When you say musical, I'm thinking Once More with Feeling, I'm thinking, I forgot the title, but the episode of Scrubs, I'm thinking, those kinds of things. When you say musical episode, that's what I think of. When you have some music, and music being a major theme, and you have one musical number at the end, that is not a musical. That is just the same as the Church on Ruby Road, a random musical number in an episode of Doctor Who. And you don't even have like the Beatles playing their own music. Like, you have the Beatles finally properly in an episode of Doctor Who, and there's more Beatles music in an episode of William Hartnell's series, and then there is in an episode where they're actually in the episode. Like, come on. So, it was good. The drama was good, and the camp was good. Take or leave the music battle. I think they could have done more with it. And then the Doctor and Ruby kind of don't end up being, which is fine for Doctor Who, because that's usually the case. The Doctor doesn't always save the day. But it's not a musical. And you didn't use the Beatles. You had the Beatles. You could have used the Beatles. And you didn't use them. Or, go to the future. Have the real Beatles. The ones that are still with us. Cameo or something. Give me something with the Beatles here. Don't hype up the Beatles episode and it barely be a Beatles episode. I'm sad. I'm sad, and I hope they don't do this with other things in the future. This could have been a proper historical. The Beatles could have been involved more. The Beatles could have, been in the battle and won the battle because they're the Beatles and they realize their true selves, in this world without music, and they defeat Maestro. You could have done the Big Finish could have done a better job with this conceit. I'm just like, I, you know, I like the episode. Like, there's gonna be very few episodes of Doctor Who that I do not like. I will say that now. I'm a Whovian at heart. I'm a fanboy. Like, I'm not one of those, oh, you ruined Doctor Who for me. Like, I have criticisms of, like, Chibnall's era, and, like, but it's still Doctor Who. Like, I'm not one of those people that's like, it doesn't feel like, no, I mean, it is what it is. But, like, that's the major negative. Of all three episodes, the Beatles episode wasn't Beatley enough, and the musical, so quote unquote musical episode wasn't musically enough. I love musicals. I'm big, like West Side Story, Little Shop of Horrors. You know, I love musicals. This could have been amazing, and they didn't do much with it. I do like that Ruby played her own theme on the piano. That was pretty. That was awesome. Um, but other than that, and I will give it a positive. I do appreciate that they acknowledge the fact that they're in 1963, and literally the first Doctor and Susan are just over there. Like thank you for acknowledging that fact. Would have been kind of cool to like have like William Bradley, make a cameo and be like, "What are you doing here?" Like I feel like he would know and he could help. That could have been another first Doctor meets current Doctor episode too, but Russell may not want to do that. But I do feel, and I'll get into theories here. I do feel like they're setting up for Susan. I really hope they are. Whether it takes 2 seasons, I don't know, but I really feel like they're setting up for Susan. Um, with the discussion of family, found family, adopted family. You know, I think there's something to this, and I really hope that it is leading. If it's just a nice reference, that's fine. But the whole theme is like Ruby's family and the Doctor being a foundling as well. Like you need to connect that. I would love it if like Ruby is related to the Doctor somehow. Like I would be perfectly fine with that if she's like Susan's daughter, if she's like related to Jenny somehow. Bring her back. You got David Tennant back. You can bring back Georgia, probably. Um, like I mean, or all of the above. In Big Finish, like Susan has a son. What if like Ruby is Susan's granddaughter, so that you have like the granddaughter of the granddaughter. You know, like you have, and then you can have Alex. I don't know how old the actor that plays. What if you have him in there, and like you have that connection to Big Finish? So he's seen Susan before, but since the Time Warp's kind of been all wibbly wobbly, how long has it been? Um, connect that. I love when the show connects to the extended canon a little bit, like they did with Night of the Doctor and Paul McGann, because I love Paul McGann, and I would love that if we could somehow do that. Or, like, again, maybe Susan Twist character who keeps showing up is Susan. There's rumor that she's supposed to be Susan Triad anagram for TARDIS, and if you're gonna have Susan anagram for TARDIS, um, then it's gotta be Susan Foreman, right? Like, it's gotta be the Doctor's granddaughter. But as we fans like to do, we can't, like, we make those connections, silly humans seeing patterns and things that aren't there. Um, Again, I'm a fan of the Eighth Doctor, but that's the nature of the show. And then I'm coming on 30 minutes here, and whoa, I gotta put this in a video somehow. So that's my theory: is we're gonna see Susan in some form. Maybe Susan Twist is Susan, but also Susan is the one who waits because she did wait an extremely long time. If we're negating extended canon, then maybe she's fed up with the fact that the Doctor never came back and she becomes a villain and she's the one who waits. I don't know how that would work, but maybe. And then, of course, we have all the fourth wall breaks. I'm in agreement with theories and I think Who Culture also said something similar, that we're in a season where they are not quite in the real world, and the Doctor's aware of it. He's just not mentioning it too much. He does make the comment um, in the Devil's Court. I thought that was non-diegetic, which I've always liked the idea that the Doctor knows he's in a TV show, and that's why he can break the fourth wall every now and then. But if that's like the whole like through line of this season, that would be cool too. And then you'd have Maestro as the god of music, and maybe you have like a god of reality that has a movie theme. I don't know what you'd call him. Maybe the director. Ooh, Russell. Maybe we're on the same wavelength here. I like that. The director. Like, and maybe there could. Ooh. Oh. Authorial insert here. Russell T Davies can be the big bad that's making reality a TV show. That would be crazy. Put yourself in. You've already put. Murray Gold has already made a cameo in the musical episode, quote unquote. So you could have Russell T Davies be the ultimate big bad that's making the TV show an actual TV show. Okay, I'm crazy, but that's probably not going to happen. But if I were Russell, I'd probably do it. Or at least have somebody who's obviously based off of him, like looks like him kind of, like dresses like him maybe in a couple scenes. Or maybe he just shows up as like a version of this character, and then you see the real character and it's like a gag. Oh look, it's Russell T Davies. Like, you're coming back. Why not put yourself in front of the camera at least once? You know? Like, anyway, so those are my theories for all of this, what we have so far, what I can piece together for, and my ideas for what I can piece together for. But all in all, I'm loving the new season so far. Like, individual episodes have their faults. Space Babies is a good middle episode. It's not a good opener. Devil's Chord, not enough Beatles, not enough music. Uh, and honestly, the song at the end was not very good. Maybe that's why they didn't make it a whole musical, because they didn't really have any good ideas for that. I don't know, and then there's always a twist at the end, but like, was Susan Twist in the musical number? They should have done that. I know they had Henry Arbinger like peek his head out. I don't know if that means he's gonna come back or not. Be interesting if so. But yeah, I'm running close to 30 minutes here. I got to figure out how I'm gonna do this. I'm still experimenting with the editing on a lot of these videos, so bear with me. I kind of don't want to show my face because that adds more work to it. I might start doing that eventually, but right now I think it would be quicker and I can get these out faster if I don't have a face cam for these things, and I can just talk. I can just talk into my microphone and then have to figure out what footage I'm going to add to it. But anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the first 3 episodes of Ncuti Gatwa's Era. And, did you like it? Did you not like it? And please, don't just say it's Disney, it's woke. Like, give some real thoughts on the content of the episodes that don't have to do with your dislike for Disney Plus, or your dislike for Russell T Davies, or your dislike for wokeness. I'm not here for that. I'm here to talk about stuff that I enjoy. I'm not here to get political or get bogged down in culture war controversy. I'm just here to enjoy Doctor Who. So, as a person who enjoys Doctor Who, if you didn't like the episode, why didn't you like it? What was it missing? Why wasn't it Doctor Who enough? Elaborate. Go further than that. I will be looking at comments, and I will be responding to comments if I can, and deleting the ones that don't add anything to the conversation. But anyway, if you want to hear more of my thoughts on the new series of Doctor Who and future videos about Doctor Who in general, hit that subscribe button. I'll do more of these, because I do plan to do not only this season, but I'm probably going to do maybe some classic Who videos. If you want to see that, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button if you like this episode. And I will see y'all when we talk about Boom.